First contact fallout. The skies of Tarsus had always been a violent swirl of amber and crimson, their atmosphere a toxic soup that would dissolve standard breathing apparatus in minutes. The planet's surface wasn't much more welcoming, jagged. Obsidian formations jutted from cracked plains while geothermal vents randomly erupted, spewing caustic gases and molten minerals across the landscape. Most spacefaring species gave Tarsus a wide berth, marking it on stellar charts with the universal symbol for death trap. But Tarsus wasn't uninhabited. The Krell had evolved there over millions of years, their bodies adapted to withstand the planet's brutal conditions. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with exoskeletons that shimmered with natural heat-dispersing crystals, they were the undisputed masters of this harsh world. Their civilization was built into massive underground networks, cities carved from the cooling magma tubes that honeycombed the planet's crust. Vorex, chief elder of the Krell High Council, stood at the entrance of the Grand Cavern, his sensory crests extended fully as he studied the strange object descending through the churning atmosphere. The vessel moved with purpose, its heat shields glowing white-hot against Tarsus's corrosive winds. "They're either very brave or very foolish," growled Xanthar the war chief, his battle plates clicking nervously against his carapace. "No outsider has survived planetfall in 3 generations." Vorex's inner eyelids narrowed. "These are not like the others. Look at their approach vector, precise, calculated. They've studied our atmosphere." The vessel, sleek and predatory in design, settled on the designated landing plane with remarkable precision. Its outer hull shimmered with an adaptive material that seemed to resist the worst effects of the acidic air. For several moments nothing happened. Then a section of the hull reconfigured itself, forming an airlock chamber. 3 figures emerged, encased in exosuits unlike anything the Krell had ever seen. Where previous visitors had relied on bulky shielding, these suits were slim, almost form-fitting, with a network of glowing blue lines that pulsed rhythmically. The tallest figure raised a hand in what Vorex recognized as a universal gesture of peaceful intent. "I am Captain Elena Reeves of the Earth exploration vessel Harbinger." The figure's voice came through translation devices that had been dropped earlier by automated probes. "We come seeking dialogue with the sovereign species of this world." Vorex stepped forward, towering over the human delegation. "I am Vorex, voice of the Krell. Your technology impresses, human. Previous visitors became puddles of organic matter within minutes." The human captain's laugh echoed through her helmet. "We've learned to adapt. That's humanity's greatest strength." Over the following weeks, a cautious exchange developed. The humans established a base camp near the landing site, erecting structures that seemed to integrate with Tarsus's environment rather than resist it. Captain Reeves and her scientific team met regularly with the Krell Council, sharing knowledge and technology. "Your world fascinates us," Elena explained during one session, projecting holographic images of Earth. "We come from a place of blue skies and vast oceans, almost your opposite." Vorex studied the images with his multiple eyes. "Yet you survive, here where others perished. Why risk contact with Tarsus when the galaxy offers more hospitable worlds?" A flicker of something, hesitation, crossed Elena's expression. "Exploration is in our nature. We seek to understand all forms of life, especially those that thrive in extremes." It was Xanthar who first noticed the discrepancies. Human survey teams were venturing beyond their authorized zones, particularly in the region of the crystal flats where the rare minerals formed. When confronted, Elena spoke of scientific curiosity, but the war chief's suspicions deepened. "They map our resources," he told Vorex privately. "Their questions probe our defenses, not our culture." Vorex had grown to respect Elena, but wisdom born from thousands of cycles of leadership had taught him caution. He dispatched silent observers to monitor the human activities. What they reported confirmed Xanthar's fears. The humans were extracting samples of stellarium, a crystalline substance formed only in Tarsus's unique environment, worthless to the Krell, who had evolved in its presence, but apparently valuable beyond measure to humans. When analyzed through the Krell's ancient technologies, stellarium revealed properties that could revolutionize faster-than-light travel and weapon systems. Confrontation came during the season of the burning winds. Vorex summoned Elena to the Temple of Ancestors, the most sacred Krell location. She arrived with 2 guards, their postures tense. "Your true purpose reveals itself, Captain," Vorex said without preamble. "You mine stellarium without permission or tribute." Elena's face hardened behind her visor. "We intended to discuss compensation once we verified its properties." "Theft before negotiation is not the mark of honest traders," Xanthar cut in. "What else have you concealed?" The moment hung between them, possibility balanced on a knife edge. Then Elena sighed. "The Harbinger isn't merely an exploration vessel. Earth needs stellarium to maintain our defensive capabilities against threats you cannot imagine." "So you would strip our world to protect yours," Vorex stated, his voice like grinding stone. The ancient pattern repeats. Before Elena could respond, an alarm echoed through the temple. A junior warrior burst in, his plates flaring in distress. "Elders, the human ship, it transforms." Outside, under the roiling sky, the UAU Harbinger was indeed changing. Sections of hull previously disguised as scientific equipment were reconfiguring, revealing weapon platforms and defensive systems. What had appeared to be a vessel of peace was unfolding into an instrument of war. "A precaution," Elena said quickly. "Standard protocol when negotiations become tense." Vorex's protective plates fully extended, an instinctive response to threat. "You brought weapons of war to a first contact. This reveals much about humanity." "You don't understand." Elena's voice hardened. "There are forces in this galaxy that would annihilate both our species without hesitation. Stellarium is our best defense, and you would defend yourselves by taking what sustains us," Xanthar growled. "The crystal fields balance our atmosphere. Large-scale extraction would destabilize our entire ecosystem." Elena's expression showed genuine surprise. "Our surveys indicated the stellarium was environmentally inert." "Your surveys were incomplete," Vorex said. "The crystals form a network throughout our planet's crust. They regulate the thermal vents that make our air breathable to Krell." The revelation seemed to shake Elena, but before she could respond, her communication device activated. The voice that came through was not one the Krell had heard before, harder, military in its precision. "Captain Reeves, this is Commander Blackwood aboard the Terminus. We've entered the system and will reach your position in 48 hours. Secure the primary extraction sites and prepare for full operation." The temple fell silent. Even the eternal winds seemed to pause. "You were never alone," Vorex understood now. The Harbinger was merely the scout. Elena's shoulders slumped slightly. "I was sincere about peaceful exchange, but yes, Earth requires stellarium. The Terminus carries a full mining battalion and military support." "Then there will be war," Xanthar declared, his battle plates clicking into aggressive formation. "It doesn't have to be," Elena countered quickly. "Controlled extraction would still kill our world slowly," Vorex interrupted. "We cannot allow this." Elena studied the massive Krell elder. Despite their physical differences, she recognized the resolve in his stance. "You cannot hope to match our technology." A sound emerged from Vorex that the translation devices struggled to interpret, something between laughter and a battle cry. "Captain Reeves, you forget where you stand. This is Tarsus. We are its children, born of its poison, nurtured in its fire. Your technology allows you to visit. We thrive here." The human guards raised their weapons, but Elena motioned them down. "The Terminus will arrive regardless of what happens here. Commander Blackwood is less diplomatic than I am." "Then you have 2 planetary rotations to depart," Vorex announced. "After that, Tarsus will show you why other species call it the Death World." As Elena and her team returned to their ship, the Harbinger's transformation completed. What had landed, as a vessel of exploration, now bristled with offensive capabilities, a wolf that had shed its sheep's clothing. Xanthar watched them go, his battle plates still raised. "Can we truly oppose such weapons? They have conquered space itself." Vorex turned toward the depths of the temple where the oldest records of the Krell were kept. "They master space, yes, but we master Tarsus, and they have made a critical error." "What?" Error? They believe we survived this world through mere biological adaptation, Vorex said, approaching an ancient stone panel carved with symbols no human translator could decipher. They do not understand that we shaped Tarsus as much as it shaped us. His claws traced patterns on the panel, and deep beneath the temple, ancient machinery awakened. Technology not of metal and circuits, but of crystal and living stone, designed to work in harmony with the planet itself. They brought a ship of death to our world, Vorex said, his voice resonating with the rumbling of awakening systems. We will show them that Tarsus itself is the most formidable weapon of all. As the Harbinger ascended to orbit to await its military counterpart, the Krell began their preparations. Humans had arrived on their death world with conquest disguised as cooperation. But they would soon learn why even the most aggressive spacefaring species gave Tarsus a wide berth, and why the Krell had never needed to leave their homeworld to ensure their survival. The battle for Tarsus was about to begin. The Shadow War Commander Thaddeus Blackwood stood on the bridge of the UES terminus, his cold gray eyes fixed on the swirling amber world filling the view screen. Unlike the sleek, convertible Harbinger, the terminus made no pretense about its nature. The kilometer-long vessel bristled with weapon arrays and mining equipment, humanity's combined fist of resource extraction and military might, Captain. Reeves reports the natives are uncooperative, his executive officer stated, reviewing the latest transmission. She recommends negotiation. Blackwood's thin lips curved into something approximating a smile. Negotiation is a luxury for worlds, with options. Stellarium concentration readings are off the charts, exactly what Earth needs to complete the defensive grid. Prepare landing parties. 24 hours later, the first wave of human forces touched down 3 kilometers from the main Krell settlement. Massive excavators and refineries followed, their modular components assembling themselves into an instant mining colony. Defensive perimeters established themselves with mechanical precision. Auto turrets, shield generators, and sensor arrays creating an impenetrable human foothold on Tarsus. Captain Elena Reeves watched the deployment with thinning lips. This is a mistake, Commander. The Krell understand this planet in ways we don't. Your scientific curiosity is noted, Captain, Blackwood replied without looking at her. But Earth's Security Council has been clear. The Arcturus incursion proved we need upgraded defenses. Stellarium is non-negotiable. Elena glanced at the seemingly quiet landscape beyond the perimeter. The Krell had vanished, retreated into their underground networks without resistance. It felt wrong. They warned us, sir. They said Tarsus itself would fight back, Blackwood scoffed. Primitive intimidation tactics. Our environmental suits can withstand anything this hellhole throws at us. The first attack came not from Krell, warriors, but from the planet itself. As mining lasers cut into the first major stellarium deposit, the ground beneath the operation liquefied without warning. Equipment worth billions sank into suddenly molten rock, along with 12 specialists who couldn't evacuate in time. Before emergency protocols could engage, the liquid stone resolidified, entombing everything beneath a perfect, glassy surface. Seismic activity? Blackwood demanded. Negative, sir, the science officer replied, her voice shaking. This was targeted. The surrounding bedrock maintained structural integrity. Only our mining site was affected. Blackwood ordered a second site established, with double security. This time the attack came from above. What sensors identified as a standard acid rain shower suddenly intensified directly over the operation. Droplets that should have been repelled by their protective fields instead burned through with molecular precision, shorting critical systems and eating through environmental suits. By the third day, the human forces had lost 37 personnel and equipment worth more than the annual GDP of several Earth nations. Yet not a single Krell had been spotted. In the command center, Elena confronted Blackwood. They're communicating with the planet somehow. We need to withdraw and reconsider. Nonsense, Blackwood snapped. They're using hidden technology. Find it and neutralize it. A new voice entered the conversation. Dr. Kenzo Yamamoto, the expedition's xenobiologist. What if it's not hidden? What if it's everywhere? When both officers turned to him, he continued, I've been analyzing the stellarium. It's not just crystal, it's semi-organic, more like coral than mineral. The entire bedrock of this planet might be a single networked entity. Blackwood dismissed the theory, but Elena saw the implications immediately. The Krell aren't just living on Tarsus, they're living with it, partners rather than inhabitants. Underground, Vorax and the Krell Council guided their world's defense. In chambers illuminated by bioluminescent fungi, they surrounded a pulsing crystal formation that served as both map and communication device. Through it, they could sense the invaders' movements and direct the planet's responses. The humans adapt quickly, Xanthar observed as sensors showed the invaders deploying new shield configurations. Their third mining site has penetrated 15 meters already. Then we move to the next phase, Vorax decided. Awaken the Guardians. Across Tarsus, dormant life forms began to stir. Creatures engineered by the ancient Krell to serve as planetary defenders. They resembled nothing so much as living obsidian, their bodies perfect adaptations to Tarsus's hellish environment. They moved through solid rock as easily as humans moved through air, erupting beneath human positions without warning. At the Crystal Canyon mining operation, Private Mira Chen was the first to spot them, glossy black forms flowing up from the ground like liquid nightmares. Contact, she shouted, raising her pulse rifle. The weapon discharged, striking the nearest creature dead center. The energy blast simply absorbed into its crystalline structure. Then the Guardians attacked. They didn't use weapons as humans understood them. Instead, they extruded crystalline appendages that shattered reinforced armor on contact. Others released spores that sought out the microscopic vulnerabilities in environmental suits. It wasn't combat. It was systematic dismantling. The battle lasted 23 minutes. When it ended, the Crystal Canyon operation had been wiped from existence. Commander Blackwood responded with orbital bombardment, authorizing the terminus to fire its main batteries at Krell population centers. The massive energy beams cut through the atmosphere, only to bend impossibly as they approached the surface, redirected into empty desert regions where they scarred the landscape but harmed nothing vital. Impossible, Blackwood whispered, watching the ship's most powerful weapons rendered useless. Elena's voice was quiet behind him. The Stellarium network. It's manipulating energy on a planetary scale. For the first time, doubt crept into Blackwood's expression. He ordered a tactical retreat to their primary base and called for reinforcements from the nearby human colony of Proxima. But the Krell had anticipated this. As the message drone launched toward the jump point, it encountered a surprising obstacle, other alien vessels materializing from subspace. Ships of designs Blackwood didn't recognize immediately surrounded the human positions. Multiple contacts, the tactical officer reported. Signatures match Voraxian, Nithari, and, Sir, that's a SETI diplomatic vessel. Open communications, Elena said quickly, overriding Blackwood's protest. The screen filled with a multi-species delegation, representatives from 3 other worlds that humanity had peacefully mined in recent years. The SETI ambassador, a floating cephalopod in a containment field, spoke first. Humanity's expansion ends here. The Krell contacted us when you first arrived. We have formed a mutual defense pact. This is sovereign human territory now. Blackwood began, but Elena stepped forward. What happened on your worlds? She asked directly. The same that begins here, replied the insectoid Nithari representative. Promises of exchange followed by extraction that left our ecosystems collapsing. The Voraxians lost an entire continent to human mining operations. Elena turned to Blackwood, her expression hard. This was never about defense, was it? Earth's Security Council has been stripping resources from vulnerable worlds. We did what was necessary, Blackwood replied, but his conviction sounded hollow even to his own ears. The final confrontation took place not in space but deep beneath Tarsus's surface. While the alien coalition blockaded the terminus in orbit, Vorax invited Elena to the heart chamber, the central node of the planet-wide Stellarium network. Here the crystal formations pulsed with visible intelligence, patterns of light flowing through transparent pathways like thoughts through a neural network. What you see is the true Tarsus, Vorex explained. Not just a planet, but a living entity that evolved in symbiosis with the Krell for millions of years. Elena stared in wonder at the massive chamber. It's beautiful. And irreplaceable, Vorex added. Your mining would have severed critical connections, eventually killing the consciousness that sustains our world. Ashamed of her role in the invasion, Elena offered the only thing she could, the truth. Earth's resources were depleted centuries ago. Our expansion isn't driven by malice but desperation. We need new materials to sustain our civilization. Vorex considered this. Perhaps there is another way. Stellarium cannot be removed in quantity without harm, but it can be persuaded to grow elsewhere under the right conditions. Grow? You mean it can be cultivated? With patience and respect, yes. The ancient Krell seeded several uninhabited moons in this system. The process takes decades, but sustainable harvesting is possible. When Elena returned to the surface, she brought not just this knowledge, but evidence of humanity's systematic exploitation of other worlds. The data was transmitted to both Earth and the gathered alien coalition. The response was immediate. Earth's Security Council disavowed Blackwood's methods and opened diplomatic channels with the newly formed Interstellar Resource Cooperation Treaty. Commander Blackwood faced military tribunal for exceeding his authority. The Terminus was recommissioned as a diplomatic vessel, with Elena Reeves, promoted to admiral, as its commander. 1 year later, she returned to Tarsus not with mining equipment, but with environmental specialists and diplomatic staff. In the Great Cavern, she and Vorex signed the first formal alliance between their species. You were right, she told the Krell elder, as they watched humans and Krell working together to establish a stellarium cultivation research center. Tarsus taught us a lesson we desperately needed to learn. Vorex's sensory crests rippled in the Krell expression of agreement. All worlds have wisdom to offer if we listen, even Deathworlds. Above them, the toxic amber skies of Tarsus swirled as they had for millions of years. The planet that humans had come to conquer now offered them something far more valuable than stolen resources, a new path forward. The Shadow War had ended not with destruction but with understanding, proving that even when stars collide, new light can emerge from the darkness.